Right now, you're surrounded by it. It's running through the walls of the room you're sitting in, powering the screen in front of you, and quietly keeping your fridge cold in the next room. You never see it directly. You just flip a switch and trust it's there. But for almost all of human history, electricity wasn't a utility. It was a mystery that showed up as lightning, static shocks, and strange fish that could knock a grown man off his feet. Nobody understood what it was. They just knew it was real. The earliest recorded brush with electricity goes back to ancient Greece, around 600 BCE. A philosopher named Thales of Miletus noticed something odd. When he rubbed a piece of amber with fur, it started attracting small bits of straw and feathers. He had no framework to explain it, no concept of charge, no concept of particles. All he had was a strange, repeatable trick. Rub the amber, and it pulls light objects toward it. The Greek word for amber is electron. That single word is where we get the word electricity, 2,000 years before anyone understood what was actually happening. For centuries after that, this stayed a curiosity, a party trick, nothing more. Meanwhile, other cultures were encountering electricity in a very different form. Ancient Egyptian writings describe the electric catfish of the Nile, an animal capable of delivering a genuine shock to anyone who touched it. Egyptian art even referred to it as the thunderer of the Nile. They didn't know why it shocked people. They just knew to be careful around it. Then, in the 1740s, things start moving faster. In the Netherlands, researchers accidentally invented one of the first devices capable of storing an electric charge, a glass jar lined with metal foil called the Leyden jar. The discovery happened almost by accident during an experiment where a researcher touched the jar and got hit with a shock strong enough to knock him backward. For the first time, humans could capture electricity, hold onto it, and release it on command. That single invention changed everything, because now electricity wasn't just something you observed, it was something you could experiment with. And one of the people most obsessed with experimenting with it was Benjamin Franklin. In 1752, Franklin ran his now famous kite experiment, flying a kite into a thunderstorm with a metal key attached to the string. The goal was to prove that lightning and the static electricity people had been playing with in labs were the exact same force. And it worked. A charge traveled down the string to the key, confirming that lightning wasn't a separate, mystical phenomenon. It was electricity, just on a massive, uncontrolled scale. Franklin didn't invent electricity. He proved that the sky and the lab jar were speaking the same language. For decades after that, scientists across Europe kept pushing further, trying to understand not just what electricity was, but how to generate it reliably instead of just capturing brief static charges. That breakthrough came from an Italian scientist named Alessandro Volta. In 1800, Volta built something nobody had built before, a stack of alternating zinc and copper discs separated by cloth soaked in salt water. When he connected the two ends with a wire, something remarkable happened. Current flowed continuously, not just a single spark, but a steady stream. This was the first true battery, and it changed the entire trajectory of science. For the first time in human history, electricity wasn't a brief flash you had to chase. It was something you could produce on demand and control. Once a steady current existed, everything accelerated. In the early 1800s, a scientist named Michael Faraday, who had almost no formal education and started his career as a bookbinder's apprentice, discovered something huge. If you move a magnet through a coil of wire, it generates an electric current. This was electromagnetic induction, and it's the exact principle that still powers nearly every generator on Earth today. Every power plant, every turbine, every dam producing electricity right now is essentially doing what Faraday discovered in a workshop with a magnet and some copper wire. Late 1800s, the pace became almost unbelievable. Thomas Edison developed a practical, long-lasting light bulb. Nikola Tesla pushed for alternating current, arguing it could travel much further than Edison's preferred direct current. The two men clashed publicly in what became known as the War of the Currents, competing to determine how entire cities would be powered. Tesla's system eventually won out for large-scale power distribution, and it's still the standard used to send electricity across power grids today. So here's the full picture. It started with a piece of rubbed amber pulling straw across a table in ancient Greece. It moved through electric fish in the Nile, a shock from an accidental jar in the Netherlands, a kite in a thunderstorm, a stack of metal discs, and a spinning magnet in a workshop. Every single device around you right now, every light, every screen, every charger, exists because generation after generation of people got curious about a force they couldn't see and refused to stop poking at it until it made sense. You flip a switch without thinking. But that simple motion is the end result of 26 centuries of humans chasing a mystery that started with rubbing a piece of tree resin against fur.